Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Van Helsing. So, a lot of interesting things went down in this episode. First of all, we have, Scarlett and Vanessa trying to figure out, secrets of the book, and it turns out it took vampire blood, I'm guessing. It seems like that was kind of the key to unlocking the map. Which, it's also interesting because it's something I just kind of noticed in this episode, but I feel like as the series is going on more and more, they've done more and more episodes like this where they focus on one character. I mean, not one character, but one group, because the entire episode was focused on Vanessa and Scarlett. It's kind of interesting because, all of season 1 typically followed one group. It bounced around a little bit, I think, but obviously in season 2, it bounced around a lot more, and now in season 3, I feel like, I don't know, it's just interesting. It's just kind of interesting that everyone's so scattered. But even when it's scattered like that, it's not like we're getting constant cut back and forth. It's almost like you focus on one or two groups at a time rather than every group. Because, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting when you just look at how things are kind of divided. But it's just kind of like, yeah, because season 2 had at least 2. There was a whole Muhammad episode. Then there was the season 2 finale that was all focused on one group. The one with Sam from 2 episodes back or whatever, that was one like that. Now you got this one with Scarlett and Vanessa, so it just seemed like it's happening more and more often. But nevertheless, I'm diving off on the point here. It almost seemed kind of like this so lackadaisical episode in some regards, when it's just kind of oh yeah, Scarlett and Vanessa kind of figuring stuff out about the map and stuff like that, them almost kind of having a picnic of sorts. I thought that was kind of a little interesting, oh yeah, Scarlett's here eating I'm assuming her peaches or whatever, so that was kind of interesting. And then they find the elder, which I also thought was kind of interesting. She had to open the door by, it seems like it electrocuted her hands. I was like, oh, is she going to get spikes to her hands like her mom? Okay, no. I mean, granted, her mom didn't have the healing factor that they both do. I also love the fact is when they stole that dude's boat, Scarlett got shot in the back. And Vanessa's like, are you okay? She's like, I just got shot in the back by a shotgun. It's man, the terrible situations the Van Helsing sisters go through, luckily them having the healing factors they do, that's not as big of an issue, but still, kind of a sucky situation. But nevertheless, I just thought it was kind of interesting. All it did was kind of electrocute her. So, I mean, probably would have been a lot worse if she didn't have her healing factor. Maybe it would have, heavily burned her hands just because of it. But nevertheless, lo and behold, who did they find? The third elder. And it's the actor, I want to say it's Michael Eklund. Is that the actor's name? Who plays Bobo in Winona Earp. That's pretty dope. But what's interesting, though, is it turns out that's Jacob Van Helsing, their ancestor and brother to Abraham Van Helsing, which a lot of interesting things came about that. For one, Van Helsing is a elder, which is interesting considering all the stuff that Vanessa's going through. That's why I was kind of it seemed like they were setting her up to kind of go down more the vampire route, which is interesting because it brings up an interesting thing. Because for one, it's Jacob made it clear that when it's all said and done, only one Van Helsing can go down this path. And it's so what does that mean exactly? He's kind of I already knew what my fate, my destiny was, and when he was explaining it to Scarlett. So it's kind of I guess Vanessa's supposed to be the Jacob, Vanessa's treating herself, and everything kind of points to her being the Abraham of this situation, but it seems like she might more likely be the Jacob, especially considering the more vampire side she's kind of going through. But it did seem heavily implying that one of the sisters would have to kill the other to go forward, because only one of them can take this journey. Because Abraham fought one a creature. I'm assuming that was them referencing the Dark One. I would assume so, but maybe that's not the case. But ended up him and the creature went through a portal, and so it's hard to understand what Jacob's whole position is of because at the beginning he was oh, I got seduced by it, but it's no, in all honesty, I just knew this is who I was. I guess it's kind of he saw that being the chosen Van Helsing was his brother's path, and he's oh, I guess I had to find my own path, and my path was this is who I was always meant to be. This is my destiny, which is why? I guess because maybe it's a situation of one Van Helsing will always have to be adversary to the other in some shape or form. I mean, I guess because it just seems because it's just I guess it's something that happens with Van Helsing's siblings of just kind of like they're doomed to repeat history. I guess like Scarlett and Vanessa are repeating Jacob and Abraham's history, which is interesting. I don't know. It's also interesting too because it seems like Jacob has the ability to kind of mess with your mind and take on different forms, because it didn't seem like the Ba necessarily did that. Only like the first elder that it came across seemed to do that, but maybe that's something they can all do. Maybe the Ba just never felt the need to use it. So that was interesting. This episode also presented something I didn't think about because I was an idiot. Because at first they were like, oh, you could always, turn them back. I was like, right, why didn't Vanessa try that with the elders or something like that? I was like, well, I guess the justification could be like the elders are so ancient and it's like maybe they were always vampires. It's like, no, they had to be humans at one point in time, but maybe because they're so ancient, the fact of the matter is it wouldn't work against them. And then Vanessa's like, well, I don't know if it's going to work because the elder bit me and nothing happened. I was like, right. I was like, I'm a complete and utter idiot. For one, I forgot about the whole like, oh yeah, Vanessa can turn, like that's literally the biggest point of like Vanessa can turn vampires. I don't know why I let that slip my mind. Two, the fact of the matter is the elder bit her in season 2's finale and he came out normal. It didn't cross my mind at all at the beginning of the season, even think about it. I was like, holy crap. So it is something special about the elders because she tries it with Jacob. He drinks her blood, but it seems like it didn't work. But that's not, well, I'll finish my thought, but it's kind of like, that's so interesting. I guess because there is something special about being an elder, it like adds something to your blood that like Vanessa's whole thing can't rewrite it back to being human. I don't know. But what I was about to say is Vanessa brings up the fact is, and it's something she's never really talked about before, apparently every time she turns someone, whether it's successful or not, it does something inside of her. I don't know whether it's pushing more on that vampire side of her or what, but like, Scarlett hasn't done it much. So far, Scarlett has done it once, and that wasn't on purpose. It was one of the sisterhood bit her and turned last season. That's it. So whatever is going on with Vanessa, maybe this whole situation with what, because we still don't 100% know what the elder did when he bit her. Whatever it was, Jacob can taste it in her blood and he loves it, and it's just the sensation of it. So it's like, it does seem like maybe the elder is setting her on the path to becoming an elder herself, because we still don't 100% know about that process, because it's like, how did someone like Jacob go from it? Because also, interestingly enough, Jacob doesn't look anything like the Ba or the first elder. Like, they looked a little kind of like decayed when it came to their skin and stuff. Like, they didn't look like normal humans. He looks like a normal human. That's why I'm kind of like, maybe it's just because he hasn't been a vampire as long as they have, because they've been one a lot longer. That's interesting too, because it's like, you became an elder. I guess not unless it's because he just rose to become the third elder. But then it's like, does that mean the fourth elder came after him? Or is it a situation of like, it doesn't necessarily work like that? Or did he replace a previous elder? Like, I'm not 100% clear on that whole situation. There's a lot of stuff to kind of unanswered about that. But the moment he started talking to her about all that stuff, and and then Vanessa lied and was like, oh no, he got away, he turned. I was like, you're about to steal the totems and run away, aren't you? You're going to handle this on your own. Which, interesting enough, we ended up finding out that they've had the third totem the entire time. Is it the blood itself, or is it, I'm assuming it's, we don't ever find out. Well, I guess it's an important item to each of the elders. I guess it's a significant item to them in their past or whatever. Why certain specific items, I guess because as a Van Helsing, it was his duty to protect that blood because it got passed down from generation to generation. But maybe like the whole more significance it held to you, maybe as a human, maybe that kind of empowers certain objects to kind of be your representation of, because we don't know what the exact totems are, rather. Like, does it make you more powerful to have your totem or something? Because like the first elder was like, give me my totem, it's mine. It's like, and so it does seem like it might fit my thought of like, it has to be something that's precious to you, maybe as a human, that's kind of sentimental, so it holds value in its representation of who you are or something. I have no idea. Like I said, I could be completely making up BS here, which I most likely am, but it's just, I don't know. So I was expecting Vanessa to leave quicker than she did, but then she was in the woods. I was like, are you about to attack Scarlett? And it turns out, oh, it was Jacob. But then that whole thing played out, and she's like, and he's biting her on her neck, and she's letting it happen. I'm like, what's going on here? It's like, is this him messing with Scarlett's head? It's like, no, that's really Vanessa. And I'm like, what? It's all part of the plan or whatever, but it's like, what? Well, because the thing is, I guess it's hard to say. Because I guess she was legitimately trying to give him a chance. Like, if he wants to leave, he can leave. But it's like, the whole point wasn't... I mean, she's lying anyway. Because I'm sitting here about to say, like, no, she's lying. Like, she used this all in as an excuse so she could get, the totems for herself. But it's like, the whole plan was to always kill him because they weren't going to let him go. Like, it's just the world is better off without another elder around. But the thing is, even Scarlet brings it up, it's like, he literally had a chance to get away. He's been locked up for a very long time, and he still chose to come back and get your blood, like, one more time. Why? What's up with that whole situation, Is it 100% just because what the elder did to her blood, which obviously that's a special taste to, or was there something always special about Vanessa's blood? And then she proceeded to rip his neck out and then rip out more and more of him. She was getting super vicious. And like when she had a huge chunk of like flesh in her mouth, she spit it out and she looks at Scarlet. She's smiling like, wow, that's scary. Like Vanessa's had her moments. So like she's gotten scarier and scarier as the shows progress because that vampire side of her has just become that more vicious. So I was like, wow. Because even Scarlet was like, are we not seriously going to talk about it? It's like, oh, that's how it was supposed to go down. But it's like, you were vicious. And it's like, the moment she was like, I need you to go, go get the totems. I'll sit here, I'm feeling, I'm like, oh, did actually biting him actually have an effect on you? I mean, which we already said that. So I'm guessing it does make her feed more and more to that vampire side of her. I was wondering about that too. It's like, if she bites an like an elder biting her modified her, it's like, could biting an elder, drinking her blood or whatever, make her even stronger potentially? Because she didn't do it with the boss. She only did it in this case. So, well, I mean, to a certain degree, because it's like technically when she was back in the past, she licked the blood from the bod to cure herself from the bod's poison. But, that's a technicality because it wasn't really her. She was kind of having an out-of-body experience to a certain extent. So it's kind of like that doesn't count. But she left Scarlet on the island, which is super douchey because it's like there's literally no other way off the island. Not unless Scarlet finds one, but it's like you kind of abandoned your sister and she's begging you not to because now it pieces all together in Scarlet's mind because it's like the fact of the matter is you acting the way you did, you doing this, you're not acting yourself, you're not in control, the vampire side of you is. And the moment she got back and she's in front of that dude's place, I was like, please don't tell me you're going to go in there to kill him. Please tell me you're going to go like, hey, go pick up my sister. And it's like, we hear the gunshot go off and stuff. It's like, no, she most likely ate him. I'm hoping that maybe it's meant to be misleading and she actually sent him out there to go get her. Because I don't see how the hell Scarlet's going to get back, not unless she finds a boat on that island or something like that. But it also turns out apparently Jacob was also saying like, oh, join us. And there's like a rule by my side and stuff like that. It's like, wait, what? I don't understand what that whole situation is. Is it like, I guess kind of leave behind the whole Van Helsing thing and just join and we could rule together? I guess being a Van Helsing and being what she is, as powerful and as vampiric as she is, plus me and you, we could rule. Does that mean you're going to forget about the Dark One? Just kind of take over the world as is? Or were you suggesting, like, what was the plan in that regard, And the fact is that Vanessa did kind of keep that from Scarlet. Scarlet had to push her. It's like, you didn't feel the need to actually tell me that? Like, I had to kind of pry it out of you. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, she laughs and kind of like, it's so ridiculous. That's why I didn't say anything. But it's like, I don't know. And at the end, we see that lady that was talking to Sam, which the lady that was talking to Sam has already crossed paths with Vanessa ever since she was small. So it's like, maybe this, I don't know, like obviously there's always been something special about Vanessa that whatever was with Vanessa wasn't with Scarlet. I mean, it's there, but not to the extent that it's in Vanessa, which is crazy to think about. Like, that's why I kind of feel like what's happening to Vanessa could eventually happen to Scarlet. It just takes the right circumstances. Maybe turning people more and more will eventually unlock that in her. Maybe like something in an elder, it's hard to say like what exactly in her biology makes, Vanessa different from Scarlet, because they were kind of subjected to the same thing. But Scarlet like led a normal life her entire life. It wasn't until Vanessa bit her that it kind of jump started whatever is in their system that makes them, able to cure vampirism as well as kind of have the crazy healing factor that they do. But also, like I said, getting back to that lady, it's like maybe she did something back to Vanessa all those years ago, back when she was a little girl. Because the thing is, like, somehow Vanessa and Sam are important to all of this. Like, maybe Sam's meant to be like the key to pushing Vanessa over. I don't know, because it seemed like there's a lot of moving parts here, because there's a whole situation with Muhammad also. I was interpreting, like, when he saw Kara last episode, that she faded away like an illusion, like it was all in his head. So I was like, oh, that was the elder messing with him. So that kind of proves in my point, like, she has to be an elder, because they all do that whole getting inside of your head thing. But it's like, what's the point of that? Because it seemed like all three of them are potentially going to converge. For what purpose, I have no idea. I'm curious what Scarlett's going to do, because, like, obviously she's going to have to track down her sister. Because no one knows she's out there on an island. So it's like I said, unless she finds a boat, she has no other choice. Not unless she manages to swim that entire way or something. I have no idea. It's taking a very interesting turn. Like I said, I guess, because, you can understand why Vanessa's doing what she's doing, because in her mind, it's like, no, I'm doing the right thing, because I need to keep you safe, because only one of us can do this, and that way, I'm taking the burden. This way, you stay safe. You have to be the one, like, if things don't work out and I die doing all of this, at least there'll be one Van Helsing that's left kind of to take care of the world, but I'll do this on my own. But it's like, I guess it seems like they might also be setting this up as a situation of when it's all said and done, the Dark One will rise when she's ready to kill him, and it's like, oh, I'll take you as my bride. Essentially what Jacob was trying to do. But it also makes you wonder about this whole portal situation and Abraham being on the other side of it, along with that creature, which, like, once again, I'm assuming is the Dark One, which I guess that's what this whole portal, I guess that's how you make the Dark One rise, release him from the portal, I'm assuming. I have no idea. I'm very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. Because I really wasn't expecting to see Vanessa kind of, like, hit a turn like that. It just never crossed my... I don't know. I mean, they might be kind of putting her in a position where she technically could be in, like, taking over as, like, a main antagonist type of role. Which is, like, I feel like very few things kind of do something like that. Whether it's like a full-blown, she's the main antagonist, we got to take her out type of thing. That could be what they do going forward. Like I said, if it does go down to what I was saying, like, oh, like her and Dracula come together, or she kills Dracula and takes over and becomes the Dark One herself, then that kind of leaves Scarlett in a position where I have to kill my sister. Like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good